Do you wish you can quiet your classroom with just a book? Freeze the interruptions, pause the wiggles, halt the horseplay? There are many ways that you can do this, but this one way I learned very early on in my career. So way before I stepped into my first classroom as the teacher, I walked into one as the floater. I was still in college and I was just picking up a few afternoons during the week. So as a floater, you do just that. You float from class to class and see where you are needed. Or you may be assigned to a particular classroom each day. My favorite age group to work with is the pre-K class. And this was in a daycare. And they were, let's say, active. So one day after they had their afternoon center time or recess time, the teacher that I worked with, let's call her Miss Allison for today's video. And because I don't really remember her name, like I said, I was only working there a couple afternoons during the week, and it was really for a short period of time. It's probably just for like maybe a semester. But she wasn't that much older than me. She was probably in grad school. This particular day, I remember the children were a little much, and she wanted to bring down that energy because, you know, very soon that they were going to be picked up. So she pulled out this book, and she did all the normal things that you do when you have a book to share with the students as a read aloud. She talked about, you know, the cover picture, and she, you know, asked prediction questions and things like that. And as she began reading this story, the class got quieter and quieter and quieter. But what I noticed was that her voice changed, her pace changed, the volume that she used in her voice changed, the expression she was using, the gestures, and using all of that, it provided like this dramatic interpretation of this story. And the children were hooked. I was like, whoa, I had never seen anything like that. And it was so quiet that you could hear like a pin drop in the room. And from that point on, I knew not only the power of a good book, but also of good storytelling with a read aloud. When I got into my teaching role a few years later, I remembered that book, and best believe I tried to do exactly what Miss Allison did when she was reading that book. And time again, my students were quietly captivated as I read this story. And I would get like chills every time I read this book because of their reaction. It mimicked that first time that I saw it, where you could hear like a pin drop. It was amazing. And it became my favorite book to share with my students. So before I tell you what that book was, I want to let you know that it wasn't just the book. So here's what I learned from Miss Allison. So number one, if something is going off the rails, stop it right there. Shut it down. Whatever the current activity is, regroup, readjust. And she did that by stopping whatever it was they were doing and sitting them on the rug so that she could read this story. So that was one thing that I learned. And I hope that you can take that with you as well. Sometimes things don't have to be etched in stone or follow to the T. If you have to stop whatever it is you're doing just to get them back on track, then do that. The second thing I learned is when you are reading a book, and this is any book, make it an experience. And what I quickly learned is this is how you can get their attention as well as keep them interested. I said that it wasn't just the book. And the reason why I said that is because you can do this with any book. And I've tried it with different books and it worked every time. So the next thing I learned, which kind of piggybacks off the second thing, is to go all in on the commitment of reading this book. Commit to it with your voices, with your gestures, with your facial expressions, volume, pace. Maybe you want to include some props or music or sounds, etc. And again, this is all to make it an experience. This is all to make sure that you get their attention and keep their attention. So the book is Abiyoyo, and I'll show a picture here just so that you can see what the cover looks like. So every time after reading this story, the children would sing the song. Yes, there is a song in there, and they would ask for it to be read again and again. They would choose the book on their own free time to look through the pictures and retell the story on their own. When I was only using it from the library, they would get, really sad that I had to take it back to the library. So it was a fun read, and like I said, it quickly became one of my favorites. So check it out at your local library and try it with your kids to see how they react to it. There's even, I believe you may even be able to find it on YouTube. You can even get it with the CD because the narrator is also telling it with a lot of enthusiasm as well. But more importantly, don't forget those things that I learned from my mentor teacher. And if you forgot, I'll just put it over here just so that you can see the things that you can do regardless of the book. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you ever read this story before, if you've heard of this story before, and if you want to find out something else that I learned from a mentor teacher, go ahead and check this video out over here. Until the next one, I will see you soon. Bye.